Thank you very much for meeting with me today.
Thank you.
Can you please introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Nancy Kalamanski, and I am a standby with the Toronto company of Come From Away.
When did you first hear about this musical?
Ooh, I heard about it way back when the writers David Hine and Irene Sergachov were creating it with Sheridan College, which is located in Oakville. And they were doing a project together with the students to write the show and work on it as a workshop. So I was one of the lucky people to see it in its very early days.
Wow. And how did you, when did you decide to join the cast, I guess?
Well, I love the show from the beginning. They had auditions sometime in, I want to say, it was about a year and a half ago. So what year would that be? I guess 2016, 2017? And so I auditioned with many other people in the city. And that's when I first came across the casting people.
And what was the audition like?
For me, I found out about the auditions almost last minute, and I was flying out of town the next day. So I took my video camera and I recorded a couple songs. One of them I think I even played on my ukulele. I think I did Welcome to the Rock. And I sent that in to the company because I wasn't here to have the audition in person. And then later on when they had some callbacks, I came back and met with the team.
Did you have to choose songs from the musical or whatever you wanted?
They asked me to prepare 2 songs from the musical. Yeah.
And when did you hear back?
Gosh, I went back in 5 times. I had 5 auditions for the show.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was a long process.
And what's the difference between an understudy and standby here in Canada?
That's a great question, and I think the definition really shifts around. I'm not 100% sure of the difference. I just know in this case a standby indicates that we're covering one of the lead roles in the part, and the expectation is that we're at every single show and ready to go on at a moment's notice.
And what roles do you cover on Come From Away?
So I cover 4 of the 6 women. I cover Diane, Beulah, Hannah, and Bonnie.
What do you remember about your first performance here?
I remember it well because I'm fairly new to the cast. So I've had the privilege of going on a few times now. I remember it being very exciting and a whirlwind and a bit scary. And I also remember the cast being very generous to me. I've joined the cast a little late. They've all been doing this show over 500 times now. So they're like a family. And when I'm on stage, it's quite magical. Everybody makes eye contact. Sometimes they'll even whisper to you, "You're doing great," or give you lots of encouragement. And that's been a real gift.
I heard that you have special rituals, like on stage left and something else on stage right.
There are some special rituals.
Tell me more.
There are little songs and things that people do that they change it up kind of show to show, but it's a chance for everyone to come together on each side before we enter the stage.
Like what do you say?
It changes all the time.
Like for example? What was your favorite?
Oh my goodness, my favorite. I think the day, right now we're in an exciting time. The Raptors are in the finals and it's a very exciting time for Toronto. So I think the other day it was Let's Go Raptors on the Rock, which was fun and had a nice energy to it.
And how did you manage to memorize this choreography and switch accents and everything?
Yes. We are really lucky to get to work with a dialect coach. His name is Joel Goldies. I think I'm pronouncing it properly. Forgive me, Joel, if you're watching and I said it wrong. So there is someone who's hired who works with us on the accent to talk us through exactly how that sounds and to make sure that it's uniform from company to company, because Come From Away now has several productions around the world and they want to make sure that we honor people from those different places. So for me, I did a lot of listening to sound files, a lot of talking out loud and practicing, and yeah, that's kind of how I approached it.
And what was it like to work with turntable?
It's good. It's my first time working with, I call it a revolve, and it's exciting and fun. It's a very dynamic moment in the show. The first few times it took a little getting used to, and when I got off the revolve I felt like I was still spinning. So that takes a little getting used to. But you mentioned the chairography. I love that you already know that word. If you ever have a chance to come on stage, there are little pieces of tape all over the stage, and they're all different colors, and they have different numbers on them. And that's how we know where to put things like chairs and tables, and even sometimes our own bodies, to be very, very precise in where the placement of things are. So part of learning the role is, yes, singing and learning the lines, but it's also learning where everything goes very, very quickly.
So, as the newest member of the company, like, how did you learn it? Did they have rehearsals with everyone else, or?
It was mostly me in a room with the resident director, Dana Tikach, the music director, Bob Foster, and there were some associates who helped out as well, and a stage manager. And it was just the 3 or 4 of us in a room for months, going through the show and learning it, and everybody reading everybody else's parts to try and support me. And a couple days a week we would come into the theater and I would have a chance to be on the stage, and the other standbys would also jump in and say everybody's lines. It was pretty amazing. Yeah.
And how long does it take to learn each track?
For me to learn all 4, I started in February of this year, 2019, and I just finished learning them last week, and we're now in June.
Wow.
So a few months. And in that time I've also been on in the show. So at the same time as learning the show, I've been performing in the show. Yeah.
And why did you become interested in the musical theater in the first place?
Ooh, great question. I think for me, it started when I was a kid, just singing in community choirs and church choirs. That's when I first got a real love of music. I was pretty focused on having more of an academic route and not going down an artist life for a long time. I did a degree in psychology, but I could never deny that I kept coming back to wanting to do plays and musicals, and I had done them all through my teenage years. So after that, I got my degree. I moved to Toronto and I went to a theatre school in town called Randolph Academy of the Arts, and they focused on music theatre and also some film and television, and I went from there.
And you worked on David and Erin's first musical, right?
Yes, that's right. It was called My Mother's Lesbian Jewish Wiccan Wedding.
What was it like?
It was amazing. This is a show that David and Irene wrote about their own personal stories and their lives. It was about David's mom coming out to their family and having a relationship with the woman, and all of the shifting and politics and love and everything that involved. So being a part of that was pretty special. Audiences responded really well to the story, and I have really, really fond memories. One show, there were 2 people in the audience who asked if they could come up on stage at the end. It was a woman from the US and a woman from India, and one of them proposed to the other woman on stage after the show, and
wow.
They said, you know, in our countries this isn't allowed, it's not accepted, and we wanted to show our love for each other in front of this audience, and it just was such a beautiful moment. I was really grateful to be part of that.
And what was it like to work with David and Irene?
Wonderful. They're very generous. As you can tell from their scripts, they're very funny, but I think what really sets them apart is there's a real sincerity and a real heart and honesty to the stories that they tell. And I think that's part of why Come From Away connects with so many people as well.
What do you like the most about being an actor or an actress? What's the right word?
Ooh.
How do you call yourself, actor or actress?
Oh, you can use either one.
Do you prefer?
I don't have a preference. I tend to say actor. It's just what I say, but...
So what's your favorite thing about being an actor?
Favorite thing? Well, part of what I loved about learning this show was I was given the opportunity to stand at the back in the balcony a lot. I had to watch. When I wasn't in rehearsal at night, I would come to the show and I would watch. And part of that watching was watching the audience and how they're touched by the stories being told and how they connected. And I think that's my favorite part of being an actor, is being able to connect with people and to share stories.
Is it what you expected?
Which?
When you're just starting out, like, is it what you expected, this job?
I don't think it's ever what you expect. No. Every job is different. I work on stage and I also work in film and television, and sometimes I get ideas in my head of, oh, this job is going to be so great, and then maybe it's not, or this job, no one will see it, and then it ends up being this gem that's just a beautiful exploration. So it's never what you think it's going to be. That's part of the fun.
What's, in your opinion, the most common misconception about the job of the actor?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Common misconception. I'm not sure.
Like, you know, when you talk to your friends and you explain to them what it's really like.
Yeah. I'm not sure people really understand how much rejection there is. To be an actor in Canada, we go to lots of auditions and we put ourselves out there and repeatedly, and there's so many no's, and it's a real high when you get the job and you get that yes, but it's coping with the highs and the lows that I don't know if people are that familiar with. It's like going on many job interviews in 1 week and just never hearing back, or never getting the job. But you keep coming back and you keep trying until it works out.
What helps you to power through?
I think shows like this one. There are some shows out there just leave more of a mark than other shows, and it's such a beautiful opportunity to be part of this story, this true story of what happened, and I really am grateful for the experience, and it's moments like these that just keep me going.
What is the hardest part? Like, what are the main challenges?
Of this particular job?
No, in general. Like, some people think that it's like memorizing the lines or dealing with rejection. What's for you?
For me, it's those highs and lows. I mean, the reality of being a Canadian actor is it's very rare that you can just act and just work in our craft. We have to work lots of other jobs, and some of those jobs aren't always great, just to pay your bills and pay your mortgage and keep going. So it's keeping your spirits up when times are harder, but also keeping the faith that making your art is what you want to do.
And what's your schedule like right now?
My life is devoted to the show. I get up early every morning and I study my 4 roles and make sure they're in here, because they can call on me at a moment's notice. I've had less than half an hour's notice that I'm going on, and so I need to be ready. And because I'm new, I have to really make sure that I know the roles. So, yep, I study, I come to the show, and usually during the show I will keep studying, and I go to bed and I repeat.
And what do you do between shows?
Lately I have been going home and having a little rest. My partner is very supportive. I'm very, very grateful to him for his understanding. So I try to go home and see him when he comes home from work.
And how does it work in Canada? Do you need an agent to find a job, or?
For some theatre jobs, you don't have to have an agent. If you want to work in film and television, you need an agent to get you those auditions so that you can connect with the casting director. When I first started in Toronto, I had just moved here from Ottawa and I didn't have an agent yet, so I would write letters and self-submit myself and send thank you cards after my auditions and that sort of thing. So yeah, you just have to keep trying. There are e-drives and places that you can go to look up auditions and see where things are happening, to kind of be in the know of what's going on. Yeah.
What do you enjoy the most about being a part of this show?
Ooh, there's so many things. I think I'm just so blessed to be part of telling such a special story. It just makes me so proud to be a part of what these people did and to continue sharing that story. And I know this is part of what you're doing with your archive and things, maintaining the tradition of oral storytelling, and to keep this going is just really, really special for me to be a part of.
Well, is there anything you would like to talk about?
Well, you explained to me that some people might be watching these videos who are interested in different jobs in theater and in the arts. And I just want to encourage people to explore. Yes, there's being an actor, but there's so many other facets in the world of creation, both on stage and behind the scenes, and different ways to create. And if you come from a smaller community where you don't have the same access, you can make your own work. If you have an idea for a show, a song, anything, you can make your own work. Nobody's stopping you.
And what is it like to work like in television or in theater? Like, if you can compare it, the experiences.
They're very different mediums. In film and television, you'll have a script, but you might shoot 1 or 2 scenes a whole day. So there's only a few lines that you're going to cover. In theater, you've got a whole production happening, and there's an immediacy and a connection to an audience that doesn't exist with the camera in the same way. When you're on stage, anything can happen. Anything can go wrong, anything can go right. So there's this symbiotic relationship with the audience where they're a part of that connection too, and I love that live quality.
And do you have any advice for memorizing lines?
Well, for me, a trick that I was told when I joined this cast was to make cue cards and to write little tips for myself of where I was going next and my lines. So if you ever bump into me on the TTC, our subway and our buses, you'll see me sitting there with these cards, just going over them and memorizing things. For me, it's about repetition and saying things out loud. So those are my tricks.
Do you make up some stories for your characters?
I really do. I've tried to do research because this play is based on real people. I appreciate some of the interviews you've done online, as well as other things that I've seen to try and learn about the people and what they did and who they are. But where there isn't information, part of what I like to do as an actor is to create that world. I'll go back and be like, how old am I? Who am I married to? Where am I coming from in this scene? Where am I going to? I like to fill in all of the extra stuff. So I've got pages that I've added to my script of just me writing things out of background that I've created.
And how do you deal with the lack of stability? Shorts in Toronto are short. Usually they don't run forever on Broadway, There it can be 2 decades.
Yes. Great question. It's a day-to-day battle. That's part of the highs and lows that I talk about. So for me, I make sure that I have other jobs and other work that I do. I do a lot of work using acting and working with other people to simulate experiences so that they can practice. So outside of theater, I work with homeless youth who might be wanting to practice doing a job interview. I created an organization called Step Ahead, and it's to work especially with marginalized people so that they can practice using communication skills. So it's using my acting, but in a way that's hopefully benefiting other people to practice tricky conversations and things. Yeah, so I'm creative in the other jobs that I do.
How do you take care of your voice? For example, if you don't feel well, but you must be able to sing, right?
Right. There are all sorts of tricks of the trade out there that people do. For myself, I have a steamer. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a little unit that you plug into the wall and it creates a steam, and it has a little mouthpiece that goes over your face. And that's pretty great if I'm feeling vocally tired or you have a cold or something. So I use that. People will gargle things. People will take all sorts of concoctions. but you just do your best.
I'm just thinking about it, like playing so many parts on this show. It must be like so confusing, you know, like 4 different characters, and for each of these roles you have to play like more than one character, right?
That's right.
How many characters in total do you play?
I haven't yet added it up. I've been trying to keep track, but each person plays their kind of main character, maybe 2, and then there's a few smaller interstitial characters that you play. So there's anywhere from 3 to 7 each character. It's, yeah, as you can tell, I haven't quite added it up, but it's a lot.
And this show is non-stop. There is even no intermission.
Yeah. So part of what's helped with me and the writing that I do is to try and compartmentalize who am I right now, who are they, how old are they, what do they look like, do they have an accent, where are they from, and then I like to work very physically, so sometimes I'll even change what I do with the posture to try and reflect who they are.
Well, is there anything else you would like to add before we finish?
I just really appreciate the time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. This is the end of the interview.